අද්විතීය 200 Mbps ස්පීඩ් එකකින් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ වේගවත්ම සහ පුළුල්තම හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් සම්බන්ධතාවය වන SLT Mobitel දේශයේ ෆයිබර් බලවේගය ඔබත් අදම අත්විඳින්න.
හරිම සුදුයි.
Tonight on First at 9, this Saturday, the 6th of May 2023. Historic coronation. King Charles and Queen Consort crowned in a centuries-old ceremony. President Ranil Wickremesinghe extends his wishes during a meeting with the King in the UK. Cooperation. President Ranil Wickremesinghe urges the Commonwealth nations to bolster connectivity. Also emphasizes the importance of the Commonwealth to play a role in supporting educational reforms. Heavy deluge. The Met Department forecasts more rain during the next few days, and National Building Research Organisation extends landslide warnings to 3 districts. Threat downgraded. WHO ends global emergency status for COVID-19. However, says the COVID threat is not yet over.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9 with Indivadi Amuata. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Alliance Finance මෙතුරු රන්නයි සේවාවෙන් රන් පවුම්කට රුපියල් 1,70,000ක ඉහළ අතිකාරමක්.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
And a warm welcome to you. We're coming to you live from AdaDerana studios here in Colombo, and your top story tonight. President Ranil Wickremesinghe urged the Commonwealth nations to bolster connectivity through digitalization. During a meeting with the Commonwealth leaders and King Charles III ahead of his coronation today, the Sri Lankan head of state emphasized the importance of the Commonwealth to play a role in supporting educational reforms that encourages youth involvement.
The Commonwealth leaders' meeting was held at the Commonwealth Secretariat in the UK yesterday under the patronage of King Charles III and Secretary-General of the Commonwealth, Patricia Scotland. The meeting was also attended by President Ranil Wickremesinghe and First Lady Professor Maitri Wickremesinghe. During the meeting, President Wickremesinghe emphasized the importance of the role which the Commonwealth plays in supporting educational reforms that encourages youth involvement. Meanwhile, the Sri Lankan head of state called on the Commonwealth to bolster connectivity through digitization. The Commonwealth leaders stressed on their unwavering commitment to strengthen the Commonwealth of Nations during yesterday's meeting. Also at the meeting, President Wickremesinghe met with King Charles III and extended his wishes ahead of the coronation. Following the meeting, the President and the First Lady participated in the Fireside Chat program held concurrently with the conference.
King Charles III was formally crowned King of the United Kingdom in a historic coronation ceremony held at Westminster Abbey in London. His wife Camilla was crowned Queen Consort. This is the first coronation in the United Kingdom in 70 years following the coronation service of late Queen Elizabeth II, who passed away last year at the age of 96. The coronation ceremony was attended by over 100 heads of state, including the Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe.
The coronation of King Charles III, which is the first coronation service of the British royal family in 70 years, took place today at Westminster Abbey in London. The service was attended by members of the royal family, representatives of 203 countries including over 100 heads of state and many other prominent individuals from both the UK and across the world.
Everyone appreciating the gentle undulations of Vaughan Williams's Fantasia
Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe together with First Lady Professor Maitri Wickremesinghe too attended the coronation ceremony. The coronation service began in London around 3:15 p.m. Sri Lanka time, following the arrival of King Charles III and Queen Consort Camilla. In the first stage of the service, which is the recognition, King Charles was presented to the people in a tradition dating back to Anglo-Saxon times.
I here present unto you King Charles, your undoubted king. God save King Charles.
The Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, then acknowledged the multiple faiths observed in the UK, proclaiming the Church of England will seek to foster an environment which people of all faiths may live freely. Justin Welby then administered the coronation oath, a legal requirement. King Charles placed his hand on the Holy Gospel and pledged to perform and keep the promise of upholding the law and the Church of England during his reign. He also took a second oath, the Accession Declaration oath, stating that he is a faithful Protestant.
Uphold and maintain the said enactments to the best of my powers according to law.
King Charles then sat on the coronation chair, which is said to be a way of emphasizing the spiritual status of the sovereign, who is also the head of the Church of England. A screen was arranged around the chair to conceal the king from view. This was said to be the most sacred part of the service. After being seated at the coronation chair, he was presented with the jeweled sword and the orb to represent the sovereign's power. Later, the new king was enthroned by the Archbishop by placing King Edward's crown, which is a 360-year-old crown made of solid 22-carat gold, weighing about 2.23 kilograms.
God save the king. God save the king.
Following the enthronement of King Charles III, Queen Consort Camilla was crowned in a simpler ceremony. Queen Camilla, who was crowned with Queen Mary's crown, was not asked to take an oath. After the coronation service, a gun salute was fired by the King's Troop Royal House Artillery, stationed at Horse Guards Parade and also a bit further down River Thames at the Tower of London. In total, gun salutes sounded at 13 locations around the UK, including in Edinburgh, Cardiff and Belfast, as well as on naval vessels. The traditional salvo involves 21 rounds fired at 10-second intervals. Following the conclusion of the service, both King Charles and Queen Camilla left Westminster Abbey on a royal carriage and arrived at the Buckingham Palace.
And here in Sri Lanka, The Adverse, where the situation has left at least 9,000 individuals belonging to some 2,000 families in 11 districts of the island. The Department of Meteorology forecasts the prevailing rainy conditions to continue into the next days due to a mid-level atmospheric disturbance in the vicinity of Sri Lanka. The Department of Irrigation, meanwhile, cautions that water levels of several major rivers and reservoirs across the island are rising due to the prevailing heavy rainfall. Taking the situation into account, the National Building Research Organisation extended its early landslide warnings issued to several areas in 3 districts.
Many parts across the country have been receiving heavy falls in recent days. During the 24 hours ending at 8 am today, the highest rainfall of 31.2 millimeters was recorded from the Negombo area. Meanwhile, yesterday, incidents of flash floods were reported from several areas in the Gampaha district owing to heavy deluge. The Disaster Management Centre stated that steps were taken to evacuate residents from the flood-affected areas of Katana, Rabavatta and Gomaswatta in the Gampaha district. The affected communities were provided with essentials including food with the help of military personnel. Issuing its situation report, the Disaster Management Centre mentioned that 9,276 people of 2,249 families across 11 districts have been affected so far due to the adverse weather patterns. Meanwhile, Issuing its general weather update for tomorrow, the Department of Meteorology stated that a low-level atmospheric disturbance is likely to develop over the southeast Bay of Bengal area in the next few days. Accordingly, the department says that several spells of showers are likely to occur at times in the western, Sabaragamuwa, northwestern and southern provinces and in the Kandy and Nuwara districts. It was also mentioned that showers or thunder showers will occur at several places in the northern, eastern and Uva provinces and in the Polonnaruwa district during the afternoon or night. The Met Department meanwhile requested the naval and fishing communities to remain vigilant, adding that strong winds about 40 to 50 kilometers per hour can be expected over the western and southern coastal areas. In this backdrop, the Department of Irrigation stated that water levels of several rivers including the Attanagalu Oya, Kalani, Nilwala, Kalu and Ging rivers are currently on the rise due to the prevailing heavy rainfall. However, the Director of Irrigation, SPC Sugeshwara, stated that according to data on the rainfall received so far, none of the major rivers are at risk of overflowing within the next 24 hours. He also mentioned that the capacity of major irrigation reservoirs across the island is currently at 67%. Meanwhile, taking the current weather pattern into account, the National Building Research Organization extended its early landslide warning issued to several places in the Badulla, Gol and Mathale districts. Landslide warnings issued to Kegol and Mathura districts earlier yesterday was meanwhile lifted.
The warning for some areas has been removed and the warning for the saturated areas has been extended to 4 p.m. tomorrow. With that, warning level 1 watch yellow warning was issued to Passara Division 2nd Division Badulla district, Nagoda LPTA, Baddegama and Yakalamulla Division 2nd Division in Gol district, Pallepola Division 2nd Division Mathura district.
After over 3 years of its original declaration, the World Health Organization ended the global emergency status for COVID-19 yesterday. The Global Health Agency's Emergency Committee said the decision was taken following lower numbers of deaths and infections reported from across the globe. However, Director General of the WHO, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, said the pandemic is not yet over as global health threat is not yet over.
3 years ago, on 30th of January 2020, the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 as a public health emergency of international concern. In March 2020, the World Health Organization's Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus first formally declared COVID-19 as a pandemic. During the years 2020 and 2021, COVID-19 overburdened the health sectors across the world, including Sri Lanka. COVID-19 infected 687 million people across the world, has so far claimed the lives of over 6.9 million people. However, vaccinations introduced during the latter part of 2020 helped the global healthcare sector to control the spread of the virus and reduce the number of cases and deaths. Further, the WHO reported that the COVID-19 death rate has slowed from a peak of over 100,000 people per week in January 2021 to just over 3,500 in the week to 24th of April this year. Taking this situation into account, the World Health Organization ended the global emergency status for COVID-19 yesterday. However, the WHO said the pandemic is not yet over as countries continue to report at least a minimum number of cases. During the past week, 41 COVID-related cases were detected from Sri Lanka. The general public is requested to still remain vigilant.
For more than a year, the pandemic has been on a downward trend, with population immunity increasing from vaccination and infection, mortality decreasing, and the pressure on health systems easing. This trend has allowed most countries to return to life as we knew it for COVID-19. Yesterday, emergency committee met for the 13th time and recommended to me that I declare an end to the public health emergency of international concern. It's therefore with great hope that I declare COVID-19 over as a global health emergency. However, that does not mean COVID-19 is over as a global health threat. This virus is here to stay. It's still killing, and it's still changing. The risk remains of new variants emerging that cause new surges in cases and deaths. The worst thing any country could do now is to use this news as a reason to let down its guard, to dismantle the systems it has built.
ගොඩමඩ පෙරලි කරන බලපුළුවන්කාරයා මහින්ද්‍රා යුවෝ ටීමෝ වෙතින්. වැඩම ගොඩයි ගොඩම තමයි ස්වරාජ් ට්‍රැක්ටර් ටීමෝ වෙතින්.
Welcome back. The Sri Lankan Navy yesterday arrested 6 individuals suspected of attempting to migrate illegally via the seas of Mannar. The attempt was foiled during a search operation conducted off the Erukkale Piddi area in Mannar. 2 men, 1 woman and 3 children were among the apprehended and were identified as residents of the Vaunia and Mannar areas. The suspects are in custody of the Mannar police for further investigations. Sri Lankan High Commissioner in New Delhi, Milinda Morogada, emphasizes the crucial role that Indo-Lanka economic integration can play in Sri Lanka's economic recovery. During a meeting with the Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister of India, Pramod Kumar Mishra, the 2 parties held discussions on enhancing Indian investment and tourism in Sri Lanka.
Sri Lankan High Commissioner to India Milinda Morogada met with the Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister of India Dr. Pramod Kumar Mishra yesterday in New Delhi to continue discussions on trading with the Indian rupee. During the meeting, High Commissioner Morogada also discussed with Dr. Mishra on the current developments of the Sri Lankan economy and progress made on the debt restructuring process. The Sri Lankan envoy emphasized the vital role that the economic integration between the 2 nations could play in Sri Lanka's recovery. Discussions on enhancing Indian investments and tourism in Sri Lanka, strategies to promote bilateral trade as well as cooperation in the power and energy sectors were also made.
The Association of Investigation Officers of the Consumer Affairs Authority vowed to launch a token strike in protest over the assault on a group of fellow officers in Kurunegala. Chairman of the association, Kosala Ranganath, mentioned that they would stay away from field duties until their members' safety is ensured. He emphasized further that they would launch strict trade union action in the near future if the safety of officers is not ensured. A group of CAA officers who visited an animal farm in the Narammala area to look into a tip-off on hoarded egg stocks had been attacked by a group of individuals on Thursday. Later, 5 people who were involved in the assault were arrested and remanded in custody until May 10th after being produced before courts. Now, commenting on the matter, the chairman of the All Ceylon Egg Producers Association said that the CAA officials cannot enter the animal farm in an unsafe manner. However, chairman of the Consumer Affairs Authority Investigation Officers Association said that the CAA investigation officers have legal authority to enter any commercial premises. A global gauge of stocks rallied and U.S. Treasuries and gold sold off yesterday as strong U.S. jobs data brightened the economic outlook and traders powered expectations of Federal Reserve easing after a long spate of rate hikes. The Asia-Pacific markets were mixed, with Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index leading gains in the region.
The non-farms payroll report showed U.S. employers added 253,000 new jobs in April, up from 165,000 in March, and exceeding expectations for 180,000. U.S. Treasury yields rose after the report, while the dollar was down very slightly against a basket of major currencies. Oil prices jumped on signs of economic strength, but registered their 3rd weekly decline in a row. Meanwhile, shares in U.S. banks also erased some losses after a rough week following the collapse of a 3rd major bank. MCI's gauge of stocks across the globe gained 1.48% and was on track for its biggest one-day percentage gain since the 6th of January. However, for the week, it still showed a small decline. The Dow Jones Industrial Average meanwhile rose by 1.65%, while the S&P 500 gained 1.85%. The Nasdaq Composite added 2.25% to end the day at 12,235 points. In currencies, the dollar index fell by 0.059%, with the euro up by 0.05%, while the Japanese yen weakened by 0.39% versus the greenback. Meanwhile, the Asian Pacific markets were mixed, with Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index rising by 0.38%, leading gains in the region. In mainland China, the Shanghai Composite slipped by 0.48% and the Shangsen component fell by 0.83%. Meanwhile, in Australia, the S&P ASX 200 erased earlier losses and rose 0.37% as investors digested the Reserve Bank of Australia's statement on monetary policy. Markets in Japan and South Korea were closed for a holiday.
And that's it from us tonight. I'm Indivara Amuatta. Good night.